perhaps we can have a new start and start realizing maybe it's time for us to get rid of some of the clutter. Kyle Bainter is with us. He's a storage expert, and he's going to give us a little help. Kyle, thanks for joining us live from Seattle.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me.
Okay, Kyle, first of all, I have to say you have a sense of humor, and here's how I know why. We all kind of clutter in a lot of areas of our life. A lot of my emails and a lot of, in business, sometimes you can get cluttered. So I sent you an invitation to be on the show. I think it was for December 32nd. 2016, and you kind of rolled with it. And as a guy who knows how to work with storage and help people get organized, you just kind of laughed with it and went, "Okay, she's one of those."
Well, I was just trying to make an excuse on why I didn't respond within an hour.
There you go. So. It worked for both of us.
Flex a little bit.
Right? But really, it just one of many examples all of us have in ways that we can sometimes get overwhelmed. We are looking at January being Get Organized Month, but we're also at the apex in America of the amount of stuff we require. How do you start out? What do you do?
Sure. Yeah. What we always encourage folks to do is, number one, get help if you need help. There's a great group of organizers. A lot of them are National Association of Professional Organizers. The Container Store has a program called the Contained Home, where they have organizing help. And find help if you need that help. But if you can manage it on your own, make a list. You have to make a list and set a goal date. If your date is 60 days from now on when you really want to be organized, set a date of that and then work backwards. So set targets for you on when you can complete those items. And what we always say is knock out the easy ones first. You need to feel a sense of completion. You need to feel a sense of achievement along the way. And knocking out some of those quick and simple things always help with that feeling of
I think it can, but
you
know what's really hard for us? We collect things for a whole bunch of reasons. You think you might need it later. I mean, think about it as you're listening today. You have stuff, and of all that stuff, why do you have it? You think you might use it later, or Kyle, you have sentimental value, or here's the real hard one. You spent good money on it, and so you feel you got to keep it because, you feel this sense of guilt. I spent a lot of money on this, and I know I'm going to be using those clown shoes I bought for some community fundraiser 12 years ago, and, I'm going to use them again. I don't want to have to rebuy them. How do you sort through what you should keep and throw out? Because I got to tell you, I've decluttered to the point where I have so much less stuff, and it is so freeing. And you hear people say that, but then you kind of have this envious, how did they get there?
Right. Let's start with a basic and simple one, clothes. Right. It's so easy to see something in your closet and feel like I need that because I will need it one day. Right.
Or the worst, worse. I got to mention this. I fit in it in high school, and someday I'm going to wear those out of style jeans again. I just know it. Right.
No, that's exactly right. So I think the big assessment you need to say is, when will I need this again? When will I use it? And have I used it within the last year, the last 2 years? Because if you haven't, you probably don't need it. In some cases it might be a little bit different. For example, camping gear. If you want to go camping and you go every few years, well, you certainly don't want to go buy new camping gear when you need to go camping, right? So it's kind of a case-by-case basis, but there's certainly a lot of situations where you can get rid of some of the clutter.
Right. So there's also something that I learned before we get into some big ticket items and some ways that we can really start moving. I heard the neatest thing from someone. When you have those sentimental things that you just don't want to let go of, but you're never going to use again, something that someone gave you, maybe they've passed on, but you just don't want it. A simple solution: take a picture, upload it into your computer, no clutter, and you can go back and look at it. All your kids' stuffed animals, do they need 5,000 teddy bears? No. Take a picture for them. Go back and visit it. I love that idea.
I think it's a great one as well. And, there's services out there also that will come help you with a lot of that work that will help you get your photos online or through a file to eliminate a lot of that clutter.
It's kind of worth it because I think you bring up something that's interesting. If you're just joining us today, it's Money Monday, and our clutter in America is at an epic level. It's costing us money, it's costing us time, it's costing us stress. And so today on Money Monday, we're talking about decluttering financially in our homes and finding ways that we can deal with some of the stress. And Kyle, a lot of times I think we get so overwhelmed with things and with the clutter, we don't think of something you just said, hiring someone to do it. It's well worth it because we can procrastinate ourselves out of ever having any semblance of organization.
Absolutely. And you know, the bottom line is sometimes if you haven't done it in the last couple of years, you might not do it this year, the next year. You just have to set a date, set an initiative, make the investment to hire somebody if that's what you need. Just start with the little things. Start with the little things you know you can knock out, and then work towards your goal of completion. That's what we always tell folks.
All right, so we have just a couple minutes together. Can you get us started on some things we might want to look at? What kind of things do you purchase? How do you organize stuff? I mean, I've heard that there's an average of 700 things in a person's garage, for example.
Right. You know, it's certainly not easy. Technology out there now. Fortunately, with all the apps on the phone and everything, one that I like, we use it as an example, is an app called Wunderlist, where if I'm grocery shopping, I can add things to the list. My wife can add things to the list. And I can just knock them out right away, and it's very simple on the phone. So there's lots of app technology like that. In many cases, free.
All right, so we're having a little bit of connection issues, but I want to say you said Wunderlist and apps like that can help you kind of organize together. So you both, your spouse, you can both have a list for like groceries, what you do need to get. I like that because sometimes we do overbuy. You know, we get sparkles in our eyes when we see things and there's things on sale and boy, I need this, and you go home, do I really need an electronic vegetable peeler? You know, no, I think I overbought there. So, you know, just being able to have good communication sounds like a good start.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And you know, you just need help sometimes. You need a tool to help you stay organized. And that's sometimes just does it right there to help you have a little checklist. Like, for example, you know, the Knot has a nice organizing checklist system when you get married, where folks helps you plan out from start to finish with a timeline on when you need to complete things. And that's certainly a great tool.
Now, you're with callboxstorage.com. Tell me about that.
That's right. So what we've tried to do is make the storage process simple. And so what we've found is kind of, as you mentioned, is people really kind of want to live in smaller quarters, smaller spaces, as the millennials are now moving into the workforce more and more. Folks really want to live urban, and with that, people have to be smarter with their space. And so what we do at Callbox, we basically provide a full-service storage solution for folks that need storage, and it's similar to what you would see on an app, you know, where there's pickup, we store it, and then we deliver it back when folks need it back.
Wow.
So a very valuable solution for folks that need to get rid of some of the clutter or make valuable use of their space.
I think that's important. I think one thing that we have to be careful of, and I bet being in that business, you might concur, but I'll get your insight, is that sometimes we, rather than dealing with it, we store it. And that's not a good use of the best use, I would think, of your kind of service.
Right. You know, and it's tricky sometimes because a lot of times in transitions, people just don't know, right? They don't know what they're going to need, when they're going to need it.
Good idea. And can I interject on something on that, too?
Absolutely.
There's been times where we have all had to deal with deaths and families and things, and we're stuck with someone else's stuff, and they may be a loved one. And it's really hard to decide what to go through and what not to. And a good rule of thumb that a lot of people have said in the grieving process is try to keep a majority of stuff for about a year, maybe 6 months, and then deal with it then. Then you're not making emotional decisions. You're not keeping too much. You're not throwing away things that you're going to want later. You got to give yourself some time. So there's balance.
That's exactly right. And if you kind of look at demographics of where we are in the country, about 20 to 25% population are the baby boomers. A lot of folks don't have the kids at home anymore. They don't need the 3,000, 4,000 square foot home or whatever it is. And so you're seeing a big shift in folks that are doing that process of downsizing, trying to be more selective with what they keep.
It's just such a better life. Instead of focusing on getting more and what I have, focusing on people. It brings so much more joy in your life. I even found out, Kyle, I actually do not have to own 276 pairs of shoes. Who knew? Who knew?
Well, I'm glad you realized that. If you just tell my wife that as well on how you came up with that revelation, that'd be great.
Either that or she and I can go shoe shopping. I don't know. You might not like that. Kyle, it has been so much fun talking with you. Kyle Bainter, he's a storage expert, and you can find information on what he does and who he is at callboxstorage.com. Thanks for helping us today.
Thanks, Michelle.